They were not soldiers. They were predators, the most violent offenders in Nazi Germany, murderers, criminals, and sexual deviants. Men so vile, they were pulled from prisons and given uniforms, then unleashed on a defenseless population. They didn't fight battles. They committed atrocities. They hunted women and children and satisfied their darkest, most perverse desires under the banner of the SS. They burned villages. They slaughtered the innocent. They reveled in pain, humiliation, and death. They were called a special unit, but there was nothing special about them, only depravity without limits. This was the Dirlewanger Brigade, the most perverted, vile, and inhuman force ever to wear a uniform, a creation so monstrous even other Nazis called them animals. World War II created legends. Fighter aces, resistance heroes, stories of courage and sacrifice. But in the ruins of that same war rose another name, a name whispered in fear, a unit that turned villages into graves, that slaughtered women and children, that even horrified the SS. They were not warriors, they were not soldiers, they were predators led by one of the most depraved men in history, Oskar Dirlewanger. This is their story. Oskar Dirlewanger was born in Würzburg, Germany in 1895. Raised in the Kaiser's Empire, shaped by discipline and war. In 1914, he rushed to the front. He fought bravely. He was wounded multiple times. He received the Iron Cross. On paper, a decorated veteran, but medals do not define character. Behind the uniform, Dirlewanger was cruel, unstable, and drawn to darkness. After the war, Germany was in chaos. He joined the Freikorps, paramilitary groups that fought communists in the streets. He thrived in violence, but his crimes went further. He was arrested for corruption, then came the crime that should have ended him. He was convicted of abusing a 13-year-old girl. Even in Nazi Germany, that was beyond forgiveness. He was expelled from the party, stripped of rank, and thrown into prison. But he had friends. Gottlieb Berger, an old comrade. Berger lobbied for him. And Heinrich Himmler, he listened. Himmler had a vision, a dark experiment, and Dirlewanger, he was the man to test it. Heinrich Himmler was not a soldier. He was an ideologue, a man obsessed with reshaping society. He believed criminals could be reforged, not into better men, but into ruthless killers. In 1940, he authorized a special unit, at first filled with poachers, men skilled at hunting, but soon thieves joined, murderers, predators, and Dirlewanger, he welcomed them all. The SS Dirlewanger Brigade was born, an army of convicts led by a criminal, a unit that would even shock the Nazis. The brigade was unlike any other. There was no discipline, no honor. Dirlewanger ruled with fear and indulgence. He rewarded his men with alcohol, women, and plunder. They were unleashed, not commanded. They killed at will. They stole from civilians and comrades alike. They reveled in destruction. The Wehrmacht despised them. Other SS officers complained, but Himmler, he protected them, because in his eyes, they got results. In 1942, the brigade was sent to Belarus. Their mission? Fight partisans. But partisans hid among civilians, and Dirlewanger made no distinction. Villages were surrounded, families locked in barns, torches set to the walls. Those who fled were shot. The Cotton Massacre became infamous. Entire communities vanished in fire and blood. Tens of thousands were murdered. Even German officers were appalled. One wrote, "These are not men, these are animals." But Himmler praised them. The savager they became, the more valuable they were. Dirlewanger's experiment had succeeded. Himmler, he created the worst of the worst psychopathic predators. Himmler's obsessions went beyond war. At Wewelsburg Castle, he staged occult rituals. He dreamed of breeding a new Aryan race, and Dirlewanger was his tool. The brigade tested new weapons, flamethrowers, gas, and poisons. Prisoners were used as human subjects. Entire operations served as Himmler's laboratory. Dirlewanger embraced it. He was drunk on blood and power. August 1st, 1944, Warsaw rises. Civilians and fighters defy the Nazis. Hitler rages. He orders the city annihilated, and Himmler sends Dirlewanger. What followed was slaughter. Hospitals burned, patients incinerated alive, children shot in their mothers' arms, women dragged into the streets. Over 200,000 civilians murdered. Warsaw reduced to rubble. Even hardened SS and Wehrmacht officers were horrified. One wrote, "They are the vilest creatures to ever wear a uniform." Yet Himmler, he decorated Dirlewanger. For him, brutality was loyalty. By now, the brigade was infamous, not just to enemies, but to allies. Other SS units loathed them. Commanders begged Berlin to disband them. But they were uncontrollable, drunken, violent predators. Himmler, he shielded them. Because when terror was needed, they delivered. By 1945, Germany was crumbling. The Red Army surged west. Dirlewanger's brigade was thrown into hopeless battles. No longer slaughtering villagers, they now faced tanks and artillery. They were slaughtered in return. Entire battalions disappeared. Dirlewanger himself was wounded, The predator was now prey. In June 1945, Oskar Dirlewanger was captured. Some say French forces handed him to Polish guards. There, he was beaten to death in revenge.
Бойцы ворвались в здание Рейхстага.
But others whisper he escaped, that he lived under a false name and slipped away. But most historians agree he died in prison, his grave unmarked, his end as damned as his life. The war ended, but the memory remained.
The day of days for America and her allies. Crowds before the White House await the announcement from the president that the Japs have surrendered unconditionally.
At Nuremberg, his crimes were mentioned, but many perpetrators escaped justice. Survivors testified, historians wrote, and Dirlewanger's name became a symbol, not of heroism, not of military glory, but of depravity. In Poland and Belarus, monuments stand. Villages are remembered in silence. The name Dirlewanger remains cursed. Did you know that 97% of viewers are not subscribers? It can take weeks to research, edit, and narrate these videos. No AI here, but it only takes you 1 second to like and subscribe. Please do so, or you may never see us again. And for our next video, click right here. Thank you for watching.